Next question is by Mike LaCharite. He's a co-founder with me of the International Sous Vide Association. He asks, I still have trouble getting a hard enough sear. I'm paranoid I'm going to overcook things. It's all in my head, I think. LOL. Searing is one of those things that some people have no problem with it, and other people really struggle with it all the time. There's a lot that you can do, and there's a lot of different searing methods, so it's hard to cover everything, but my quick tips for it are the thicker the food, the better. You know, if you cook a half-inch steak with sous vide and then you throw it right on a pan or to sear it, you're going to really struggle with that because it's so thin it's going to overcook anyway. So you can either chill it down in an ice bath to sear it, or maybe sous vide isn't the best method for that type of steak, depending what it is. You know, it might be like a skirt steak where you can sous vide it for 24 hours and it really tenderizes it, but at that point, you do want to chill it down before searing it. I think using a heavy pan is really critical. Holds in a lot more heat, and when I've used a thinner pan, it doesn't work that well. I've used stainless steel, I've used nonstick, I've used cast iron, and the only difference I found in them is the thickness of the pan. If you have a heavy nonstick pan, it's going to work just as well as a cast iron pan, all told. It's cast iron might be slightly better, but either one's going to give you a good sear. If you have a thin pan, as soon as that meat hits it, it's going to cool down the pan and it's not going to sear it, which leads to overcooking. You also want to use as high as temperature as possible. Get an oil with a high smoking point. You know, some people start off searing with olive oil and it starts smoking and burning a lot lower than some of the other oils. There's some good websites out there. If you Google smoke point of cooking oils, you'll get a list of them. Some of them are expensive, some of them are not expensive at all. And just grab those. I have one, forget what, I think it's sunflower oil maybe, that I use only for searing. So that helps a lot. If you're struggling to get a good sear, you can always throw it in an ice bath or cold water for 5 to 10 minutes to bring the temperature of the outside down a little bit before you sear it. Again, these are all tips that can lead to an improvement in your searing, and you don't always need to do it depending on the results you're having with searing already. I use a torch a lot, and now that I use a cast iron pan, I'll often sear with a cast iron pan and then I'll torch the top of the steak to kind of get the nooks and crannies. Speeds up the process, dries it off a little bit, and I've had really good results doing a sear with that. Those are a few different methods that you can try. But in general, the thicker it is, heavier pan, have it real hot, and that's going to lead to the best results. And the higher the smoke point of the oil is, the less amount of smoke that's going to be coming out during this process. So hopefully that helps some. Just so you know, just because I can sear really well at my stove at home and you run into trouble every once in a while and set off the smoke alarm isn't an indictment of you. I went over to my friend's house. So they just had a baby, and the women were going out for a spa day to get away from the babies and just go relax. When that was happening, of course, us guys decided to get together, eat steak, and drink bourbon like we do, and watch the baby. It was the first time that she had really left the baby alone with my friend. And we were doing a ribeye tasting of several different grades of ribeye. And when I was searing it, I'm used to my stove, my pans, my range hood, and doing it the way that I do it. And he had a thinner pan, and his stove went to different temperatures than mine did, and his hood wasn't as good. About 3 or 4 minutes into the searing process, I set off their smoke alarm, which of course they had one of the fancy ones that sends alerts to their phone. So after the ladies got done relaxing at the spa, she got her phone out of the locker and had about 10 messages saying that their house was on fire and smoke alarms were going off and there was danger at home, which was a good way to, you know, wind down from a nice relaxing massage, is to suddenly be stressed out again that, you know, your husband and his friends are killing your kid. So it still happens to the best of us, and you know, it's embarrassing when you're at someone else's house and they're like, I thought you do this for a living. You're like, I do, but you know, it happens to all of us. So don't feel bad about it. You'll start to learn how to do it with your own equipment and get better at it.